entrance of His Excellency the President, Brigadier General Retired Dr. Julius Malobio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. National anthem, please. Please be seated. Your Excellency, with your permission, sir, we will do this engagement in Creole. Before we proceed further, we would like to invite the presence of God with the minutes of silent reflections. Amen. Amen. Your Excellency the President, the Vice President, advisors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are as part of a continuation of President's stakeholders engagement, where it starts with tribal heads, paramount chiefs. We also began yesterday religious leaders in there, and today, because of the number of CSOs that we will get, we get the largest number of people at one point in time for an engagement, because only one that will be getting different information of how the engagements be there. But from when we go forward, normally we can let from when we introduce ourselves because our engagement, so we will sabi ourselves. So we ask for the holding mic from when we start with the president of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, and then you name any organization.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President. My name is Ahmed Said Nasrallah. I'm the President for the Sierra Leone Association for Journalists Large.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Oh, yes. Well, let's start.
Apologies. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ahmed Said Nasrallah. I'm the President for the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists Large.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President. Good afternoon, everybody. Mina Edinia Michael Aswalo, President of the Sierra Leone Bar Association.
His Excellency the President, Mr. Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, Ibrahim Tommy, Executive Director, Center for Accountability and Rule of Law.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Vice President, all members present here. Good afternoon, all. Mina Salien Adams, National President, Women's Forum Sierra Leone, the National Women's Umbrella Body. Thank you.
Jacob Safar, Chief Minister. Your Excellency, Vice President, Mina Wapua Roma, the Resident Minister of Northeast.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency and Mr. Vice President. Mina Alpha Khan, spokesman for the President and Minister of the Northwest Region.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Vice President, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mina John Aponji Benjamin, Senior Advisor to His Excellency the President and Ambassador at Large.
Good afternoon to you all. Mina Brother Mambo, Chairman Coalition of Civil Society.
Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, Momera Mansouri, Minister of Information and Communications.
Excellency, Vice President, Mr. Umaro Undawuri, Excellency the President,
Ministry with Saul Amina.
Good afternoon, His Excellency. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President William Saul Amin, Executive Director, Accountability Now Sierra Leone, Chairman, Civil Society Consortium on Service Delivery, and representative of WACS of West Africa Civil Society Forum for Sierra Leone Chapter.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Honorable Vice President, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Matilda Ekanson Siama, Program Officer, Rural Women Action.
Good afternoon, His Excellency, Honorable Vice President, and all protocols observed. I am Brian Makonte, the Head of Programs Advocacy Movement Network, AMNET, but then also in the capacity as the Advocacy Officer for Child Rights Coalition Sierra Leone. Thank you.
His Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, good afternoon to you all. My name is Abdul Manaf Kamukai. I'm the Executive Director for Defense for Children Sierra Leone and President Defense for Children International.
Good afternoon, His Excellency and the Vice President and all protocol observed. My name is Hannah Munakris Given Reverend from Skyrim Soul Network, the network coordinator.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, the Honorable Vice President. I'm Alfonso Manley, the National Coordinator of Civil Rights Coalition.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, the Honorable Vice President, Mina Hassan Janetan Kamarango Murango, the Country Director, Child Welfare Society Sierra Leone, and the National Coordinator for the Civil Society Consortium on Community Accountability and Service Delivery.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Vice President. I am Joseph Sano, Hill, Sierra Leone.
All protocol observed. In Amara Kalon, Deputy Minister for Political and Public Affairs.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Vice President. Mina Raymond D'Souza George, Advisor, and Ambassador, Heritage and Culture.
Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Hawa Salis Amai, the Executive Secretary for the Independent Commission for Peace and National Cohesion.
Your Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Simon Gaima. I'm the Governance Advisor to the President.
Your Excellency, the President, the Honorable Vice President, and all state functionaries here, colleagues on, Mina Charles Kobine, Executive Director for Sierra Leone. Good afternoon.
Your Excellency, the President, Honorable Vice President, members of the government, colleagues in the struggle civil society. I am called Alfonso Biambani. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Human Defenders Network Sierra Leone, the sub-regional coordinator of the West African Human Defenders Network, and for chapter.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Coker. I work for Fambutok. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President. Good afternoon, Ministers. Good afternoon, civil society colleagues. I am Rashid Umbuya, Executive Director of Legal Link and former Commissioner for Human Rights in Sierra Leone. I'm grateful for the invitation, sir. God bless you.
I'm the coordinator for the National Advocacy Coalition Extractives, a member of the Sierra Leone Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, and a board member for Tax Justice Network Africa.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, the Vice President. I am Edmond Abu Jr. from the Native Consultation Research Center.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief, Vice President, and colleagues all. My name is Marcos Bangoa, the Executive Director of Citizens Forum for Democratic Accountability, C4D.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President. Mina Abdul Karim Habib, Executive Director of Network Movement for Democracy and Human Rights, and the Western Oba Coordinator of National Elections Watch.
Good afternoon, all. Mina Solomon Subandi, the Director of Amnesty International Sierra Leone.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, sitting ministers, colleagues. I am John Paul Bai, Director for the Sierra Leone Alliance.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Honorable Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, colleagues all. I am Juliet Anderson, the National Coordinator of the Civil Society Movement Sierra Leone.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, and all protocols observed. I am Furi Kabia, representing Citizens Advocacy Network.
Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, government functionaries, and my colleagues, I'm Khalil Ibrahim Tutani. I'm Chairman for National Council for Civic Education and Development. So I'm still your colleague.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President. Mina Hamiru Harima Sakoy. I'm the Technical Assistant to the Chief Minister, Office of the President.
Mr. President, afternoon, sir. Vice President, good afternoon, sir. My name is Marcela Samba. I'm going to tell you from Campaign for Good Governance, the National Election Watch, we are the chair.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Honorable Vice President. Good afternoon, all. Abdulem Fatoma from Campaign for Human Rights and Development International.
Your Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, everyone waiting at this room, good afternoon. My own name is Joseph Rahal. Me and the Executive Director for Princeton.
Mr. President and your able Vice President, my name is Mambo S. Spiker, Human Rights Advocate for Prison Watch Sierra Leone.
Mr. President, your Honorable Vice President, the Fambulem Unadu, Mina Fasan Dubangura, and then the Strategic Communications Unit, Ministry of Information.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President. Good afternoon, everyone. Imansila, MIC, Strategic Communications Unit.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Like you don't see, we get CSOs them from a range of sectors, issues, thematic issues, the way they try for discuss and defend. And like you don't instruct Risa, you say you want engage and talk to them, and you make hear from them. But for them, you actually know it's make there. I go on for invite the Honorable Chief Minister, who can explain and give a background to why we there today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday. Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, colleague ministers, advisors, distinguished members of the civil society community, good afternoon. Generally, governments, they engage through different platforms, and we've been doing it in different ways, through the usual press conferences held by the Ministry of Information, through town hall meetings where the President himself is very engaged. At least we're on record to have visited at least 50 chiefdoms across the country where the President, at any point in time, he always talk about his priorities, effort to the government they make, reasons for some of the challenges we are facing in the country. We've also had community meetings at different areas, community churches. Then also important, the Vice President has been interfacing with CSOs. I know at least annually they'll be talking to the CSOs directly, either in small groups or bigger group. Then the President himself from Willicam is on record to have a cocktail with journalists, particularly. Then recently, I think it was last year, we started with the CSO interface. These are all opportunities to engage. Yes, those engagements have been going on. When this incident of August 10th happened, we did preliminary analysis. I mean, we are all part of Sierra Leone, we were able to understand. One of the things why should we wait for the investigation report to reveal anything? One of the things that will come out that maybe we need to do a little bit more of engagement, different methodologies. And we had the voices of people's society groups who confirm some of our thinking. When we drill down a little bit, we realize maybe the approaches of engagement with deprived communities particularly has not been structured, has not been sustained. Because one of the things we realize is that these engagements have likely been done or funded, supported by CSOs. After 1-2 years, the structures later are abandoned. As a government, we might not have probably come in. As government and probably our own government, we need to be a little bit more to engage with those communities. And then we also probably need for a little bit more of, at presidential level, to do a little bit more engagement with different groups from time to time. I mean, as a listening government, we're taking all this in shape, and we're doing quite a lot to make sure we strengthen those stuff. So the president, in his wisdom, said, no, okay, let me start at my own level. Recently, as the Kakotoma talk, we started with tribal headsmen, they go to the paramount chiefs, they go to the religious leaders. Then today, a very critical group, one of our partners in development, that is the civil society group, for engagement. You are better informed and you should better understand. We express. So, this is just part of his effort to start engaging. And I will assure you that this engagement is lined up at this own level. They're going to be lined up at the program level. I mean, we designed a national program now for public engagement at different levels, beyond the communications. I mean, and definitely this particular group are going to be the implementers of that program, but it's going to be executed in a very structured manner. I mean, and in a very sustained manner. They will make sure that it's mainstream within government, so that they don't die with exploration of donor funds. When you get the video, $100,000 is spread away, you don't know. We have to mainstream into government. I mean, we believe that can be done, and the focus of that is to let people understand the global and the national issues and that's impact on their lives. They will appreciate some of their challenges and some of the effort the government make. That's going to be the general focus. So we call on our today, one of our CSOs, one for probably updates on what's happening after January, post, how do we call it now, August 10th. Check on that, then which effort government made, reiterate some of the national global issues and some of the effort government made, then more importantly probably to solicit from you some how do we hope to how can we resolve some of these issues. Well, not really resolve these issues, but how do we sustain peace and build national cohesion over the period? Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Chief Minister. Now we will hear from the President. We invite Una for Mekuna come and for Mekuna waiting for say through the opening remarks. Your Excellency the President.
Thank you very much, the Press Secretary, the Honorable Vice President, Chief Minister, Ministers of Government, senior government officials present here, the civil society community in Sierra Leone, good afternoon. Yes, today's engagement will take the form of just me making an opening statement, which is my own account of how I view things generally, and definitely we want a reaction, and so that we go able to begin piece together the things that we're missing. Obviously, they make salon they go, who say enough for go. I want to start by saying a big thank you to all of you for the various efforts that we're going to make for keep this country together, for keep the government in check, and for also for contribute towards development. That is part of a democratic process. And it is not always pleasant when there is some person or a group, they criticize you, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes very constructive, and sometimes it remind we of the things that we don't omit, because we are a human organization. But it is important because we're not human organizations, and we can tend to go in different directions at different times, forget a good group of people. We will say, this government not a good so, or we say they go in my own opinion, because everybody gets, again, interest, whether they seek and they try for pursuit. We all recall on the 10th of August, last week, the very ugly incident which happened there. We don't fever, we, as a country, and we don't look very ugly. Collectively, with all what we want to do and waiting governments they don't do, including mine, we don't build an image of a community, of a country we're resilient, of a country we don't take in destiny in our hand, and as a country we don't decide say never again. That ugly past we say we're so cruel to one another that people then ask, are these human beings? That was a decision we made. And as difficult as it is, variously, we all done to make that effort for change that image, for take away that stigma of a brutal civil war, Ebola, corruption, and all the things that we can make society better before. But in just a few hours last week, all of that was thrown out of the window by a group of trade unions. No leadership, nobody not claim leadership, because I sure say what happened is so shameful and so bad that nobody will claim leadership. But of course, with the beauty of technology today, we know the one way they be in this. Not a suspicion, the incitement and all what happened take place now in cyberspace. And in the cyberspace, you leave your footprint. When you say something, it gets registered and it can be stored and reproduced at different times. All of this was organized there. So, we're not there against protest, which is part of the freedoms that we would enjoy in a democracy. In fact, me not only believe, say, there will be freedom, I don't take part for make sure, say, I free the space even further. Especially some of when a journalist then. Which you all man be afraid for take out the seditious libel law. I believe, say, for free society, I take that off. But every freedom also gets responsibility. Why we get right for protest freely, peacefully, with an identification, knowing that saying that them people here they come on for protest, you also get applicable restrictions. If you decide say you protest today, if I pass there, for bug me, I for go pass and go buy me mina and bonga me I go cook. For unbug me. You get the right for Timothy for protest peacefully. This not been followed because of the actions of a few people, mostly very young, vulnerable people around specific parts of the country. And in small numbers, we image who done the fateful bill change in few hours. And we all get a task again collectively for tell the world, say, that was a simple, what you would call episodic eruption, and that we could change that image because it's not good for we, it's not good for help you going forward. So for make we go able to deal with the situation, Madam make me talk say we need for engage. Some people talk about dialogue, but dialogue is a dyad between two groups of people or individuals. And people have not owned up to this particular act. And it's difficult, therefore, for really identify them, for sit down with them. But you've been a group that is present all the time, when they all side, when they actively take part in the democracy that we try to develop. Because even the Americans and the British and all the other big democracies are still working on their democracies. We see what did happen January 6th. That was nobody not be imagined that to happen. Now America, you see the picture today, you see say no, this is not happening, or it did not even happen. This is how I look at this August 10th. Somebody asked me, how do you deal with the situation after? How you see this? I just said, a blip. And we for treat it that way. That is not us. It does not look like us. And it should not be our collective image. We are a good people, Sierra-Leoneans. I think, if I can accuse you all, including myself, we the good people can sit down with the bad people and they prevail. And so the actions of a few people don't make me look like some of the worst people. There are protests for cost of living around the world because things are tough. Around the world, inflation don't reach 40-year high in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, some of the wealthiest economies. It is just beyond the control of some of the most powerful governments. What about we the go big, the same government then? So can help we? Why are the travel? And for go big. And for go big. If I meet all night when I visit the travel, Bond is a beautiful place to go on vacation and go sit on the Bond. Number 2 is a beautiful place for go there and no need for go. But in the first place, one of the major international financial organizations, the IMF, the program we don't stop. We inherit austerity. There was no program with this country because of bad governance. I think, if I don't forget, it took us 8 months in action, in reforms, in waiting for a clean bill of health. We make all the financial institutions. It took me to go to the headquarters, the World Bank. I cannot sit in the comfort of my office and able to achieve that. You want big, you sit down here, say, well, can't give me this. Namibia, the most beautiful country in the world. When other countries, other leaders are present constantly in these places, presenting their case. I had to do marketing. It's not my forte. It's never been, nor has it been my discipline, but I needed to serve this country. I needed to clean up the image. And I needed to go to certain capitals. So when people want to talk, we get statutory obligations, travel, so they make. We can say, maybe come up on the UN, no, no ever go UN again. No come up on ECOWAS, no, no ever go there again. No come up on AU, no, no ever go there again. No, we not talk to China for, no, no ever go there again. No, forget about EU. Where do we stand? Are we part of the international community? No. Sierra Leoneans will talk about travel as if it is a pleasure. It is not. But it is part of the duties of the head of state. Who say you competent present? If you're not present there, nobody knows about you. Nobody gets to hear your story. In your first term, we all, when a good neighbor there, when somebody moves in an area, the new person, you are expected to go around and meet. I don't come home, especially if the person will be there was not a bad person. You need for tell them, say, you know, a good neighbor, and that you mean well, and that when I go live in harmony, may they know you. So even when you know they will help you. They will help you to kill them. I had to do these runs. If I grab Aguna Harvard, it is because they invite me. That is a great institution of learning in the world, preeminent. They don't invite lightly. They don't invite everybody. If I go to MIT, they say, come talk to me. We admire what they do. It is because they see say salon don't begin change. And when you go to them place, they now sell the more you sell. The last time we go, the prosthesis, bionic prosthesis, what did they do? The project when they don't start. Then decide they will start, forget what he said, the first place where they will take as a site could be Sierra Leone, $24 million. An officer spent $50,000 for God himself. $24 million. I asked the woman, why you want for? He said, this is what they do, you know, even in the United States. He said, I saw you. I see you talk. I see the passion. Madam, make a one for starting a salon. And I know say, when I get people, they wait in this service. That is just one travel. Partnership for education. If the world they gather, they say, you don't make so much effort for boost the support for education. We want for make you come. We want for listen to you. Who say you put this energy? Why are you so passionate about education? Spread this, infect others. Ladies and gentlemen, it is just but right that I go. If the world decide for, after where we don't make a priority, they self-recognize, say, that small country don't provide leadership. They don't show commitment, and they are going ahead with major reforms and investment in education. In spite or despite the COVID-19, we need to recognize them. That is why they invited me to co-chair with the UNESCO Secretary General, Director General, and say this one a meeting now for prepare way for the United Nations Secretary General in meeting. Now you the co-chair. This is recognition. And some of them also don't know when they talk about education, now when they help me for spread this, now when this is bad. So when I take credit, I know I have people I share that credit with. When they put them out, me one not be able to spread this. Some of them, the organizations they own at the head, education, human capital development, and part of it, when they talk about them more passionately than me. So you are partners, and I'm happy for that. And I want to say thank you, and I want to encourage others. We cannot move from where we are. We say we don't care, we self go. As a nation, who forget about education if we not take education seriously. None of you will be sitting here without education. I have a humble background. I'm very Chakomot. I don't know for most of you. we had no reason. When our colleagues, when I start with, most of them, you see them now, you're not going to recognize them. Why are you here? Education. Me don't see the benefit. And I want to share it with every Sierra Leonean. That is why I have passion for education. I cannot go dropping, pots or this car wash, I put money in my boot for the key. But I know say what they do. If we all support and it work, we all know say now the most powerful weapon that we would give this nation. Sierra Leone was once they called the atoms of West Africa. Why? Because of the brain power, the energy over the put. Somebody will be like, more paper now, I go to Cambridge, then they ask you. They know the question. We reduce ourselves, say we reach that point, with the support we begin for go spy for O level. Parent they give money, the teacher hold the money, they provide the way they create a whole value chain from WAEC to the PK inside the classroom. And then the technology, the phone for downloads, the answer, not only the question. That is sweet. That is how far we have gone down. We are fighting all of this. No level of decadence, no reach. The day when we hear that, it bring me, I had to get up again to say, no, we have to fight this. Because I don't believe, say, I've been there in this country, say, this they happen. A value chain from WAEC to the beginning. We are killing them. We are killing us. We young future. We are fighting all of this. At the same time, with the fight for keep the economy on track. Nobody will talk, say, salary don't go 3-4 months. In those days when the economy be supposed for the run fine, will they go 3-4 months? They don't pay salaries. We keep salaries constant. We invest in education. We keep the health system running. It is not the perfect. It cannot be perfect in 4 years. Nations have had to work for hundreds of years. And even if you go to their nation and they describe the health system, then the infrastructure, that is the human being. You go visit and not do nothing. We are up to a very great beginning. We for recognize that and continue for work. So when we pay more attention to politics rather than development, that is our greatest fault as a nation. We are so polarized. We only see things in red or green. Never green, white, and blue. So, the kind things we've been fixing, we don't turn we back on violence. There's room for protest. There was a time as opposition leader, I knew I had the youths on my side. I never used that negatively. I could move things in this country for don't create problem. But I decided to be on the right part of history. If I moved out of here, I'm not being intended for a PhD in the first place. I've always decided I was not going to do that. I say, before I do, I'll go keep Mr. Busey. Give them a space. After I knew the election itself was rigged. And those who were involved know that the 2012 election was won for the sake of peace. I see some intellectual dishonesty in some people when they try to take me away, take credit away from me for peace process. Nobody sent me to go and fetch for the Sanko. Nobody gave me money. The same fly where the fly, and that's why I became fly. I said, I will locate him and bring him out. And I brought him out. That was how we started the peace process. That was how we had an interlocutor. So today we are in this milieu of peace with the benefit forget, and some people, when they really want to be dishonest, they say mother was not involved in that. In fact, he not play a role. For somebody where go to my hometown and kill anybody who looks like me, and kill, and I had to make the sacrifice, I said, I will talk to him, may not kill the other people there. I shook hands with him, then tell me, say, I'm a family, me and you look alike. They say, Mr. Senna Rebel, call me any name. I have fought for my country, and we continue to fight. I fought at the front, I will fight from behind this desk, and continue until I can no longer, the Lord calls me back. Now that make a tell and say, the one that we don't start this trouble. People thought I was going to come with so much anger and go after people. I'm not that type. My preoccupation is my country. How can we make Sierra Leone a better place? But if you come and you want to disturb the peace, we have promised and we are going to deliver on that. The one that we're responsible, we will seek them anywhere using the laws of our state for punish them. So we have to account. You cannot do this to a state. You not go kill your company in this way. You will so vexed by yourself because he wear uniform, the symbol of the state. He dey chop him. He don't die. He or she is no longer alive. He dey cut and he dey set fire upon him. So many years after the Civil War, nearly 2 decades. Is that a protest? People are protesting as I speak for cost of living. They will hold the prices. They will talk about inflation. Ours was Mother Biofogo. Mother Biofogo. I don't say the date. You have the weapon. The ballot. Before, when I know the last time, we be the big forget the date for election at this country. 1 year in advance, I'm transparent. I don't have to say it. When I say I know the talk, but my actions speak louder than the talk on our miracle. If I'm one for begin manipulate, they say today when I for the big, able where the date, where the this. The recommendations then we will send in, we'll put into bill, we'll send Parliament, the elections thing. These were things that have been recommended by our partners who have observed our election in the past 2012, 20, they don't pack it, nobody know. Those are the things we'll put inside that bill. It was not the recommendation, just government get for presented. So not to SLPP original proposals of Mother Bill. We don't make the date open. You hate Mother Bill so much, you want to change him. The 24th of June has already been declared. We should be preparing for election. We should be bringing policies out. Bring alternative policies for, say, free education or good. Freeing the women folk, supporting them to be part, an equal part of what they do, fine. Bring back the death penalty. Bring back the seditious libel law. Restrict the space. I have opened up the space. We are bringing our women folk on board. We are supporting the children to be better than we are because we already grown. That action should speak better than anything English or Creole or where we able to talk to them. These are the efforts, and they don't begin for yield fruit. They don't begin for yield fruit. A nation which was only characterized by some of the worst objectives there. Today, they remember we until this fateful day, the 10th of August. We changed that image. You are stakeholders. That is why I think we need to engage. You don't have to vote for me. you vote for yourself and your country. If you want us to go to the past, your vote counts. It's going to count on that day. Even in the midst of all of this, talking about the economy, we meet inflation hovering around 18, 17, 18. We can, if it were not for this international economic crisis, up to 9%. Single digit inflation. We clamped with the Fed corruption. It's present everywhere in the world. But you should not allow it to choke the development process. And that was what was happening. We decide for FETA. We don't say the Fed way. We know that, but we accept that. But we know say we will get trained past them and we will defeat them. Just so that Sierra Leone goes ahead. We cannot afford to be begging all the time. We can be a better nation. And there are so many things for lay the foundation for that salon we go better. But some people don't even understand, say, now the foundation that we lay. Most of the ministry, let's say mines, if you not do the legal framework and governance structure there, it doesn't work. We just go end up with craters. We will not be able to account for to begin with. It is painstakingly slow, the development, but it has to be built on a very strong foundation. It is technical. It needs a government that is compassionate and consistent in doing good things and scaling up all the time. That is what we are doing. So, we not use COVID-19 as an excuse. And one of the statements they made, he so rest in peace, Professor Farmer, in Harvard, say, America should go and learn from you how you dealt with your COVID. Now, one of the professors then, it just passed a few months ago. He was here, the Partnership in Health, Nakono. He was here several times, and when we go there, we agree for talk, and that is safe. So, ladies and gentlemen, the responsibility to the state for take very seriously. We can all belong to different parties, and we have the right to belong. But we have only one Sierra Leone that we call Sierra Leone, which is our home. I know what dream and nobody knows the dream. Make no mistake about the one that we see in the Ghana State House. Now that make a rush camp for Sedona State House. Maybe from where I come back, I can go sleep normally, come back to State House. And no can I with bullet too. So no come for me with bullets. I said, I go, pull me uniform. I said, no more bullets. I've fed for 15 years. I will go there by the ballot. I'm legally seated there, and my government is legally constituted. If you want to change, the date is the 24th. A few will not go allow them to come threatening me anymore. And that should be. And one thing that is a credit that we will give to Sierra Leone. We saw what happened in 1997. As a nation, we resisted. I appealed to the military before I left. I said, there is time for every purpose of that. My coup will be the last coup in this country. Don't try it again. When they tried, you refused this country. And that is a credit that goes to all of us. So we can be good people. And we can do great things. And we can take action. We can stop the passivity and actually take action. With all the weapons, you stood your ground. I was not here. I don't want to take that credit. Until that military government come out. We say, however, we rudimentary this democracy, more experimental rather than we bring in any form. He refused. And that is what we have to say. We have different opinions. We can be at each other's throat, which is not necessarily the best thing. But we don't say, when we have disputes, we know they use violence. When you choose democracy, you put violence behind you. So, civil society, I don't talk too much because I know I can always talk. And the deficit and the trifle, I talk when it is necessary. I act all the time and talk only when it is necessary. You have to get used to certain leadership style. Not to that possible way we go propaganda, empty propaganda, embellish lies and present them as truth. No. We don't present different things then. We are faced with a situation where we need for own up to as a nation. And you being a critical part, because civil society, they are very critical. Critical in their thoughts and critical in the space. That is why I don't call them. What do we make of this? How do we prevent it? And because, somebody asked me, I had 4 people that were for Binkam were in business. Even the Vietnam, they say, at the common I go to Vietnam, not that they read the language, I'm not sitting at the city. I go stay inside the swamp, who said they plant the rest. Because when I like rest. And when anything when I like, I go find I make sure say, that is why I went that far. The people, the president, he said, they go not to just Saigon. I said, no. I said, they go to the Mekong Delta. And they go inside the swamp. I want to go see how they do it. So when the people that they give me reports, they know they give me reports we I don't know about. Why do I go to that length? We left 7 o'clock in the morning until we not can take 2. Because we can only go there by road. So, I want to make a brainstorm, and in a very short way, and let's say, when I get on our thoughts, this happened, we all witness them, especially the one within at that part of the town. When I see, when I hear, when I then at the cyberspace, when I see what the people that they do. And how then they incite violence, how the violence they happen, how we see the little who they try for build at the bottom, then they try for create the biggest capital of any nation, that is social capital, that which keeps us together. Mina Temneman, Mina Mendeman, Mina Fula, that is the greatest capital for any country. We don't see people there for their selfish ends. When they read the hate message, when they put tagging certain ethnic groups. That was how it started in Rwanda. So that is another thing we, as a nation, we must fight against. We must talk against. We must fight it. Nobody can not determine which tribe you come before you come. You are born into an ethnic group. Like it or not, you are going to be, that ethnic group. Whether you speak the language or not, even because they are born in a particular ethnic group, when they talk the language. So we have a series of problems, but we are faced with the 10th of August violence. And it's mind-boggling, and we need to find a way. So I hand you over back to the moderator. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Like you see, the engagement is not two-way. But we say we get beaucoup CSOs there, we there, and wait till we try for make sure say we get people we they talk, we go represent probably sects within the CSO space. So on that note, I want to first call the president for the Sierra Association of Journalists for just can make short reaction and suggestions as part of the discussion.
Mr. President, Honorable Vice President, Ministers of Government, colleagues from the civil society space, and family who watch now us. I want to tell you afternoon, and I want to tell the President, thank you for inviting me for come to this program and give thoughts about what will happen, and give some of the ideas that we'll get on how we move forward as a nation. So last start first by condemning what is happening on August 10 and receiving incidents that will happen, and also send out the condolences to the families for the one who lost their lives, the police officers, and the civilians them as well. And I want to say, we have been, we all take responsibility for the government, the opposition, the security sector, the media, CSOs, the traditional and religious leaders, and Syrians in the diaspora as well. We all hold responsibility and will take the blame. And as soon as we all therefore move forward and for resolve the issue, and ensure say that we get a nation will stable. If we get the correctional center will be like Freetown, I would recommend say we always spend some time there. Some form of mindset rehabilitation before they release back to society and to communities then. But since we're not there one day, and I want to tell the President thank you for this kind of engagement, we will also serve that kind of purpose day. But it's very good, very President talk, we must be hand up. It talk from my heart. This is the kind of conversation that one for the reformer. The correctional center, not too busy. And so the President talk on something very important. He doesn't talk in passing. Put in, because we're all important here. And the politics. And we all know, too much politics. So, the way for pipe down. The politics, they don't divide me across the middle. They don't divide every sector. No sector, all sides. And they divert and distract the government to focus on the new direction going from the Sierra Leoneans. The too much politics also, they promote hate and hypocrisy among Sierra Leoneans. And also they undermine patriotism and nationalism and peace, and of course national cohesion. With too much politics back, you don't erode all the core values that we get as a nation. Labor and expect, you know they give. Dignity in labor, you know they. Excellence, dedication, integrity and trust, all the values and the because of politics. And so I agree with the President on that. Say, we need to pipe down this politics. As long as we put aside, we don't want to stay alone, we don't want people, and we will focus and ensure we do the right things for country. I listened to the President make a statement, official address to the nation when we return, just after the incident that happened. Tell me, I personally can say, the President be angry. So they say, no, not be angry, respond, but to me, be angry. And as a President, if you're the last person who gets anger, even if you want to get angry, no vex. You approach, forbid that, tell the people and say, you understand the problem. People don't get it. And that's also something we only try to do for addressing the problem here. But that's not good now. The license to take the law into our hands. So let me sit down and talk, look at the presidency. If we talk about the problem here, then we all need to play a role to ensure we contribute to how to solve the problem here. And at the same time, punish the lawbreakers following the due process of the law. Because every society is not only definitely that's not happening. So the book is back to you, always sit down and talk man to man, always. I mean, for the president will get space for the day, every time, regularly, from period to period. And we, who they are all now, leaders, we don't space the work by people look up to me. People who they control, they look up to me. We don't say we for influencing people with the right thinking, the right mindset, and the right approach on how we hold government to account and how we also contribute to the debate that we do on national issues. So that same type of approach, I need to use the president of large. I don't achieve so many things under this current government. Because of the approach, when I come and say, no, me not the president, who they can begin to press release, or who they can begin to challenge government, and government go na bathroom, the whole press release. Government go there and press release. No, I have to engage. Don't engage with the police always a bit free. No, don't get it, don't talk to them. No, we work together. The army, as powerful as the army. And no one day, sit down and talk with the media. No, don't get them to talk to me. They go to the office, what's it called? Sign an MU, they say, it's going to be an all letter. And we all get the role for play of democracy. We don't have security, we don't have media, and we don't provide the information to the people. So we want to work together, and we want to work in the public interest. So once we understand that one day, now we help people do it, we said, no, don't do any work. So now we talk. Not like before. Before any have to press release is of nothing. No one say talk no more. If you don't engage and understand what it's on, if you don't talk to the person, if you will break it down. Even the hardest position you get, it will break them down. So now address the position small. Now, the position needs to change in approach to governance. As a position party or as a position group, the responsibility that will provide alternative to the government. You know, shadow government, and you know, the government in waiting. So if the government say, we can build bridge from here to Lunge, as a position, what do you expect? What do the people expect from you? They will say, okay, government, this is a good idea, but the government say, we can build bridge, it costs so and so amount, and it will take so many years to do one. As a position party, or as a position group, we expect to say, people say, okay, government, this is a good ambition, but you know, they will do it from now to 5 years or 10 years, a long-term project. If we build in a government, that's what we do. We go by ferry first. We go by 3 ferry, then we can put down for this day challenge for travel from here to Lunge and come back. And it will cost me less. Those are the kind of alternative ideas in one political position we put together. But we go meeting a small groups and we can say, the government will pull on power. We pull on power. That's not the approach. And I also want to talk briefly on the diaspora. So in the diaspora. First, there is a group who run the help salon. When they already send their families there, loved ones there, they cushion the economic effect. Who will get? But nowadays, most of them, and then they share there inside two videos there, all is there. And then they share there. Because they get limited data. They share. All man don't focus on the politics and salon. What's they do, Banana? Seriously, what's they do, Banana? They get TV, unregulated TV, online audio, every legal program. And they talk about things they know very little about. Who they are, how you get the information. That's the kind of information you get. So when they contribute for layer born, then we don't want to come back. Please don't believe we don't come back. So we let them know that they are asleep then for the rest of their lives. So contribute to the development and peace and stability of the nation, not undermine them. I don't talk, let's say, the media and the saint. They see the media and a reflection of the society somebody. When you excuse somebody, we'll not be the best people ever judge me, but tell me how we don't operate and how we do. I don't talk about. But I will say, under His Excellency, we don't make great development for the media. The repeat, we will not get for over 50 years. We don't finally pull out, we don't move more space. Although we don't get the cyber security law, we can give it back. For then begin review some sections there. Because then there is space also you don't need to shrink back. And people need to understand what the law they say. The law when it comes to elections, until they change them by the law, and they get permission to say, well, we all know but let's go for no voter. So if you're going to make implement them, we will go back. They have to go to the police. People need to understand what I am. Need for make alliance. The instructions they hopefully say, okay, they infringe on rights. If you talk freely, the whole government to account, in a responsible manner, let them review them back and make sure say, the law will can protect the cyberspace, the law will can limit the cyber things, like freedom of expression and freedom of other things. So the media said, this is a big problem. We self-divided at the middle. The president, when the president gave speech that day, the one is what they call night watch. Before the incident, during the incident, he said, the front page, Adebayo is popular than President Bio. After the president gave speech, the next day, aftermath of August 10, President Bio is in control. So it's just a change, right? See? So we second problem. I don't say as a leader, I try to do my best for solve the problems. But I don't for solve them. It's not possible. I got to do my best. The same way with the president. The problem of Salone is so many that no president will solve all the problems. And like onion shells, as you peel one, other one day. As you peel one, other one day. So you can only do your best, and posterity will judge you. So now, so you don't do. And lastly, and finally, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, I want to talk to the police, to the civilian police. We mourn with them, don't lost officers them. We want only the wish for that. So we mourn with them and tell them much for that. But we also want to remind them, say, they're responsible for the safety and security of the civilians, with the population. So they are letting cool their hearts small and let them make sure, say, they keep an account of the civilians there who don't die in this program here, and this incident to happen. They can give an account of the one they will arrest and let them make sure, say, they get access to justice. But only that, not people. Whatever bad out and bad, not people. Bad news for bad beginning. So we call on the president for intervening that year, they will make sure they respect because the images they will show, so they show internationally. It's all over. All the credible news outlets, BBC, Al Jazeera, I'm not getting angry. But now let me get back, let me make sure that image is the back of extrajudicial killings. They talk about that in the news, BBC, Al Jazeera, they talk about that. Those are not good images for dependency, not what we done, those are not we don't pass that stage 20 years ago. Why you forget that happening back to me? And then I need the use for evaluation now, as in the use of Salone. So definitely next year, we will not drop freedom index, we will not drop peace index, we will not drop freedom of the press index, definitely. All the way for drop because of the incidents that we don't have this. So when they get a bad name, to the government, the we people of Salone. And the name is Sierra Leone. Big wells, they didn't ask you, I said, if you come out when I see come out. They ask you, you're not Sierra Leonean. I did that. That's your identity. So, by way of expressing your own concern on behalf of SLAG, the media, and we know say the elections they come, the media gets a very big role for play, and we want to engage with international partners for see how the media will be central to make sure we get a free, fair, non-violent, and credible elections. And we hope say governments are going to intervene and see they support the media because the media said if we're not on attention for now, then we'll create the war will not ever create a gap in a saloon. We see the divide, the division, the politics. We see how they cover the events. They see one section, they say it's an attack on democracy. But that section, they say it's not bloodbath. Everybody gets young. Then the shows we divided. Just take a woman, you own a sympathy, you know, so we are divided. But we don't do training there. We don't train, but who they put other interests above the public interest, then they put all the things in here. You put sexuality aside, you put ethics aside, you begin support them freely, blindly. So it's a very good call for me. We will learn lessons from this. And because as a nation, don't want to keep silent. Don't we talk. It will be don't talk before, but instead they have been the opposition party don't ever come out and talk say we criminal in a saloon, we support us saying, don't listen to Adebayo, no Adebayo. Don't listen to the modern way they pass to. Also true. But then they play with them because they didn't in favor. Because when the government become unpopular, then they get an opportunity to go to the elections and win. That is not right. We all get responsibility to support the government of the day for achieve what they plan to achieve, not for undermine them. When you undermine them, we don't undermine the state. Because they get the legitimacy. How we elected? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The President of Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, we will move the conversation forward. We now also invite the President for the Sierra Leone Bar Association.
follow we all express ourselves and give that kind of platform where not been there before. The incident that will happen August 10, really sad, terrible. In fact, that's why we all not be feel so we will ever go again as Sierra Leoneans. Most of we now will put press statements them for condemn the act in the strongest of terms. But then I'm glad for this initiative on how we will go before. From that side, they're waiting cause them. And then who side we dey now and how we will move forward for make sure say that kind of thing they not happen again. Because as the president say, the image where Salon been get out there, now an image of tolerance, an image where they say, oh, Salon people are we nice, we good, we don't move on past the war, we don't get successful elections, not to one term, not to two term, you know, so we don't move ahead. So this thing will happen now, take me back. I was in shock while I watched that video then. I don't even believe say mortal man will able to do this to him company just because in your mind this is the state or this is not the enemy. So at this point we have to go back. Why this thing happened? We all know say this thing, although it faceless, it was fueled by incitement. People then work on people and vulnerability them and use them, small picking them, most of them are young youths, you know, use them for, they use their vulnerability and make them do them kind bad and terrible thing they are. So for me, I think say, we all for take responsibility as sludging president don't say, as leaders then our various corner them, waiting we they do for stop their rhetorics there, waiting we they do for make sure say this kind of way where then they brainwash them people there not happen. Are we in our space by non-action or by action fueling these things? So like how this large president say some newspaper they get out and go report something, some newspaper they get out and go report them. Are we fueling these things? So now look at these things and think with your own judgment, you know, search yourself and say, what could I have done for make sure say this thing not reach that level then? So for me, as I don't say, as we say with Press Relief Association, we condemn this totally. And we ask that the investigation go on and that them punish not only the one them way commit the act, but they also go beyond that to the one them way incite. So they will not say, at least this is not done and this cannot be tolerated. Furthermore, one go one step further. I know say we all know say we always the law. I know when police hamburger will talk, when this hamburger will talk. But there are law and order in our society, not for a reason, not for sanity, not for protect me and you. So we appeal to all citizens say, try for be law abiding, use the correct processes for address your concern. So as they say, present for common because XYZ, you know, do this, you know, do this. Time don't day for that. Wait day for that. Means day for that. Election day, you go to the ballot, also for come back and say, okay, we can pull on this kind of way. And then protest, right to process. We all know say, under the laws of Sierra Leone, we guarantee, say yes, for giving rights for protest. But also this same law, it will process how for go about them thing and day. So, and for reason, and for protect the ordinary citizens. So you cannot just come out and say, okay, I can't protest, when you know say, there's a tendency for them hooligans to hijack this protest and do anything they want with them. So police in assessing will always say, how are they protect citizens? But what do you mean one for recommend and encourage the police? When somebody make an application to you for say, or notify you, okay, it's not an application, when you notify, say, I want for do a process. I would suggest that the process of determining or assessing whether you will allow this process or not, this possession or not, or this protest or not, for be more consultative. Not to just police the right to say, no, I disallow you. It will be engaging. So if you come to me, say, okay, I want to do this protest for X, Y, Z. If we sit down like so, we talk. Me as police, for example, theoretically, will say, now this now we concern, we will make no one give you this. But if you guarantee me, say, okay, this process you confine them to this small area, you get like 100 people, not to 1,000 people, they're not going to disrupt the area. They're all identified maybe with t-shirts or something. We'll be able to contain them for we're able to secure with citizens. At least police will see reasoning. So basically that dialogue day for day, you know, the dialogue with themselves, all citizens, the need for law protests, because it's a right. So more make sure say we encourage the police for make sure say when they do their determination, then be consultative and they engage. Also, I want to touch on, we also know say this hate speech and bigotry, it's first time in the non-existence, but now it is here. And if we don't need panel board now, we go regret because we don't know how it go metamorphose later on. So me want to call on Mr. President. As president, you are also the head of your political party. So I want to take the initiative for call on you fellow political party leaders. Make una do something like a declaration. Do something like a declaration against hate speech, tribal bigotry, and do some kind of undertaking, because as political party leader, make no mistakes about it, they control a wide range of people. If una as the leader are not able to say we condemn hate speech and tribal bigotry, and anybody in our party will make statements as such, we go punish them. Una make them openly and everything like that. It go nip on the board. So when somebody at party level or at any other level say something like that, if you get punitive measure in una party, it go stop them for do that day. So I want for encourage Mr. President to take that initiative day, reach out to your fellow political party leadership for let una do this declaration and undertaking denouncing tribal bigotry, and commit una self say anybody under una control or una party way make them kind of statements and they una go punish them. I think that will help. Also, journalists una get responsibility not for publish if una able, not for publish then kind rhetorics and day. So when somebody may come, if una see an editorial or something, una say no, this will not go publish them because it fuel tribal. We don't want something happen in Rwanda for happen. It's crazy. So we all know whatever we get for do, we all get with differences. But when it comes to that, we will stand out and say, no, we are Sierra Leoneans, we are not going down this road. Then finally, I don't want to take too much on the time. I want to thank Mr. President because he decided to give civic funeral to the police officers then we lost their life. It means the government value them and value their service. But in addition to that, I just want to ask that the government create a victims fund for the people that were them police officers and they don't lost their lives, so they get family them, they picking them, so they get aged parents where all of a sudden they don't lost their source of income. So at least if the government create that sort of fund there, we will say okay for them people there, at least we take care of in picking 2 person in family or in mama. It sort of give that kind of assurance to the one that we left for say to all serving personnel for say if I die in active service or something like this, Also, just that standard, come someone say, you don't serve, they kill you. Imagine somebody die away, not just 3 years, they don't serve the force. What thing he go do for his family? So if that fund they government create that funding, it will reassure serving police, all serving personnel. So if I die in active duty, maybe people then just not go left so. My mama no go turn bigger man by. My beginning will get some sort of support until they able to stand for themselves. I just want to say thank you to everybody now, and I hope say whilst we the new contribution, they will just remember with responsibility for make salon. That responsibility now we all get them, not to one person, me, you, and everybody else. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now invite the Women's Forum, Sierra Leone. We Sally Adam can talk for them. We also now the advice make we make the contributions very short, because at least one for time for Apple. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, retired Brigadier Julius Mandabio, Vice President Mohamed Juliet Jallo, ministers all present here, my colleagues in society and women's level all there. I'm glad for Tinapia for representing the Women's Forum, Sierra Leone, when are the mama for all the women's group. We want to call her mama because Women's Forum done it for 28 years. We even all them solutions there, Women's Forum not pass through. For example, what taken from the Civil War, for out peace, so the St. Paulette, Women's Forum, the part of them, we know the little posters. We took up the Women's Forum last year as one of the young person, because all along now, for the past 60 years, 70 years. So I want to tell thank you, but we don't call me now today. Because as we women in this country, we're glad for this kind of engagement. Why? Because we know State Sierra Leone, or any side where trouble happen, like August 10. And before August 10, order is going to happen when a small group of women come out say they want to protest against government, still because cost of living don't there. But we, as women, we know say cost of living everywhere. So that first will happen when we are condemned and talk say, oh, this is wrong. Because we know the way something happen. We women that will begin it and they suffer the most. But as the slash man talks say, he says Sierra Leone, we don't well this country and politics. And even at NAPIA for representing the Women's Forum. Because I know the Women's Forum gets over 300 registered women's groups all over this country. We're not just baby who grabbed yesterday. No. As you talk about, politics don't divide even women's group. You go come for can work for start the country, but you get others there because of their selfish ends. The people of this country don't forget before. So I will talk again on behalf of the woman as Hechi talk say how we want to follow we go. What do we go to for solve some of them problems that will happen on this show? We're not glad. We're not glad because if this kind of incident will happen August 10, Women's Forum, we condemn it totally. And we, as women, will talk say, Mr. President and the team, who will they pay? Because even that day, some of them are combined, we get well because the whole number in this country. We not want to men and copy them bad image in this country. When they talk say, the perpetrators they when do this act? For them to book. And the other hand about the site, social media, they go people that still gone. As the woman them, how they group them. You as the woman, you want that kind of protest and they, you don't think about speaking way born like us. I could say if self man come out, you go say, hey, no, but no, don't think about speaking. But you get woman them way they get put all the support. And we don't say somebody not going to God do something if you're not gonna support her. We talk about dialogue again and say dialogue. How good dialogue? The dialogue first between yourself, fair and supporting. Dialogue are two-way. inside yourself, then you meet other person in dialogue. But how about dialogue? The one that will do the act. Who don't know them? You study them, I study them, we don't know them. And we number one, as the women's group, number one, may they continue because they continue, we begin to suffer. Now we don't see how they continue to go before. We don't want to go back again. So we all women's, I talk before women in this country. I heard women's forum say women civil society group. And they talk now say, Mr. President, enough is enough. It's time we shame the one them we want to put CBN. Because if they like today, we begin them. They go to school this time again, the season, we begin them, but don't go to school. But then they look at what happen. They never go to school. They sit down. So they don't want to exam classes then. We don't say how the education they transform in this country. They never go to the classes then. So I don't say where I talk. They don't take me say because of even the tribal because the way Madam is talk about. Now every day people that they can start people that can talk about tribalism, hate speeches. How many women's group and talk say this is possible for our country or this not good? No, because someone feels no more. Salon for go before. And most of them know they be so, and for the selfish gains. And this country, if we don't have to say the truth, Salon for go before. So, Mr. President, one of the recommendations there is they go to Mr. Rado Swali. Because the social media, they don't bad off. And then you see all kinds of incitements. Boss woman then, like by this person don't go so. So I want to know how we get for make sure say the social media, the wrong things already happen. Like for example, the one every day oversee. How they call them Adebayo waiting. How not them forget rid of Adebayo. Because Adebayo are one of the people that really incite people begin them. They're young. Some of them the way begin them, I get 2 points. We begin them, you know, we begin them. If we not try for fast track Adebayo, they kind of and followers they all when they start on social media, you go on and oversee they still on their idol. What for the incitement speeches? So, Mr. Minister, please, when I therefore wake up for ensure say social media will continue more. The election they cancel. I'm not going to talk much. Mr. President, once more, we say thank you, the Vice President and team. And we hope say over to the kind we all will work with each other instead of with the bash back yourself, let's say, all not be on salon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. And now I also want to call Center for Accountability and Rule of Law, Ibrahim Tommy, who also can make reactions and suggestions, and also allow focus on very short and only reactions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandy. His Excellency the President, do you allow me for stand on existing protocols for make a few remarks. First, I want to thank you for we convene this meeting, but of course not the first time this government they meet with civil society organizations. There is a CSO Government Dialogue Forum where we colleagues Marcella, Andrew Lavalley and John Coker, they did. We have met I think twice, and in this same room we don't previously meet as civil society leaders. And so we acknowledge the dialogue, and I use that deliberately, between the government and civil society. But make I just say that tomorrow, Mr. President, as a community, civil society community, we will meet tomorrow and take a kind of position where hopefully will help inform your own action, and I'm sure we will have recommendations for your government. You say you invite you now for reflect or comment on 2 main things. Wait till we make of the events of August 10 and perhaps the days thereafter, and wait till we for do your government and we in civil society. Mecca said that, speaking for myself, and I hope for civil society in general, we condemn outright the violence, the bloodshed of law enforcement officers and civilians, innocent citizens, and I want to express sincere condolences to the bereaved families. As we don't always say in civil society, we support the right of citizens to demonstrate peacefully. There's no doubt about that. In a democracy, and in your address, your national address, Mr. President, you talk about that. In a democracy, there's a right for peaceful assembly and for demonstrate peacefully. But what we see on August 10 was anything but a peaceful demonstration. It was an act of violence, and we believe that those acts of violence must be investigated. Those responsible must be brought to justice. And we're not just talking about the law enforcement officers and we regrettably lose their lives, but also civilians and we die on that day and the days thereafter. We think, say, this engagement, Mr. President, who you don't convene, and I listen to the Chief Minister, one of the proposals we make is that it is really important that we have this community outreach program. I'm happy that the Chief Minister talks to the one for mainstream, because then half meetings they are good, but I don't think say they do the thing. Making sure that we have a robust community, and I should add, actually, media outreach program, because it's not just, we've done a bit of media work, I guess, but I think what has been missing, and since we asked for recommendations, I think we need for now start from meet with various sections of the society, the youth. To be honest, Mr. President, I'm glad that you spoke a lot about the programs, and I have to admit that you have done quite a lot in terms of education, legal reforms, accountability, and all that. But as you self-acknowledge, there are significant economic challenges we all for collectively help for address. So in that community outreach programs there, I'm hoping that we will talk about what government don't do, what government not able to do. And this is the thing, we've got to be honest. There are some things government cannot do. You have to tell the people that some things are not to government role. It's your role. If you are failed as a person, as a family, as a community, let's say it. Waiting government for do we enable do, let us say why government able do them. And as you said, Mr. President, Sierra Leoneans are good people. They understand as long as you meet them in their own spaces with the right messages, with the right tools, they will understand and they will accompany you. Now, I think there's also something to be discussed about politics. Everybody don't talk about politics, and I agree with the sentiments one another expressed among everybody about politics. And we are in a situation where we need frank discussions about the country, who's our country day. We all want development, we want progress. Your government don't do a lot, and there are challenges. It's about time that, especially as we approach elections, we create a space for discussion also with politicians on the other side. They have the role to play. I agree with you, Monk. But if you're in the opposition, you have the role to play to make sure that this country is at peace. Because if this country is not at peace, even if you take over power, which is all politicians say their job is to win elections, right? That's the job of politicians. But if you win election in a very divided country, you cannot govern well. So there is a need. But as I can always say, a person pull in hand, as Obama can say, you yourself stretch your hand. They know they shake hands when your fists are clenched. And it's okay for us to be divided as a country along political lines. That's what I believe. You don't have to be APC, you can be APC. It's perfect. It's a democracy. You don't have to all belong to one political party. But what is not right, let me say this, Mr. President, is for make you use that political division and make it like an ethnic division. Many man and they with the APC, tin man and they with the SLPP, vice versa. Let nobody for your selfish interest, you will listen to me, make you believe so because Mina to me and Mina Mendema and therefore are bad for you. I work for an organization where there are people from all different ethnic groups. We don't talk about ethnicity in our organization. And in daily lives, we don't talk about ethnicity. Now, only way we can for pull SLP in a power, or for put APC in a power, or for pull APC in a power, put SLP in a power, now they talk about tribe. It's wrong. But Mr. President, a specific recommendation that is, in addition to the outreach, where they recommend, I think we also need for work with the Intelligence Council for make sure we start for meet more actively with politicians on the other side. I want to conclude because Mr. President indicates will not get plenty time for just say to my colleagues in civil society that we self-get a responsibility. We have a huge role. Sometimes we know the talk, when we for talk, and when we talk and half truth, we can be politically correct. Sometimes we define the flames of division, divisiveness. Maybe we don't hope say after this statement, we don't make now and not go put my name on another list, right? You have all seen the list, right? But I always tell people I will never ever be flustered. I'm too old to be flustered by what people say about me or the animosity they direct towards me. I'm too old. So just let me Saturday, I'll say my mind when I need to. In the last 4 years, His Excellency, all of you would acknowledge that we don't hold His Excellency government to account. We don't put out reports against Parliament. I don't call out the police. We don't do everything, but it doesn't matter. Only becoming a man in SPP. Now, then, when the other person talk on IPC, the other person talk, if you continue for listening to those voices, you're not going to help your country. So I also decided for now remain right in the middle, say your mind in a very constructive way, help your country. If you never want to help your government, help your country, because at the end of the day, you have only one country. I want to thank you once again, Mr. President, and I hope say this engagement will continue, not just with you, but actually with members of the government and more importantly, at the community level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Like President say, part of the protest also be include a lot of picking them as well. So where we try for segments, people are for talk, for represent different shades within the society. We also try for look at relation they will represent picking them. So I will call Mr. Manaf Kemokai. We represent Defense for Children International. His Excellency, President, Honorable Vice President, Ministers and everyone, good afternoon again. Me not to Pekino. But of course, I don't say anytime they invite me for can speak to an audience, they go all I speak on behalf of Pekino. But I also want to declare and I say, Pekino back very capable to represent their own voices. So I know they have to represent their voice. So in that respect, I really hope and recommend that this engagement, the president will also get our Pekino. I want to join again all others for condemn a violent protest, and even more importantly, for condemn the one them who involved the Pekino into that protest, whether directly or indirectly. And that's result to the arrest and detention of at least 38 Pekino, 24 in Freetown, 5 in Makeni, 4 in Kamakwe, and 5 in Mabroka, including 10 girls. And the way President will say, nobody know they apply for sure who side they want them born or who strike they want for commot. So then PKR way involved in the NTR, especially the one the way the Eastern, and circumstances because that incident take place beside the day. If not lovely them the day or hill station, definitely they're not for that arrested. So I appeal to the president and the government for no use criminal prosecution against them, picking them. Well, I'll deal with them as picking them, try for trace their families and reintegrate them after probably warning, and also educate them about what to protest mean, and if you want for protest, if it's not your right, how to go about it. Sierra Leone, one of the problems I think we get, I speak now again from NGO programmatic point of view, as well as our engagement with government over the years. And the fact says, since after the war, we just respond, react. Even the program they already designed, they're all tailored towards reaction, response. To the extent that we wait when something happens, boom, we all begin to run helter-skelter. I just imagine one time late Khadija, that small became way in the rape case, the amount of people we come on, it was as if this thing not done happen as Israel, because that's what we don't use for respond. But this is the time for make a shift. We need to invest more in prevention. We really need prevention program. And for me, in this area, the National Council for Civic Education and Development is really, really important, as well as the Minister of Information. The government will really invest in their institution even more. They expand their outreach program them, and also some of them program them for the children and youth led. I want for also remind all of we, Naya say, the government don't do a lot for make sure say dialogue or areas then they for make complaint, but not enough. Government for expand complaint mechanism. With the hot we say too much that's alone. And anytime, also you could really know say people then get a lot for talk about. But at any time government make effort to establish one institution for receive complaint, you see so many people are overcrowded. Go FSU, go legal aid board, and so on and so forth. So which means we need more of this. Because when you agree, and you actually they also they go there complain and they listen to you, I think they help you for solve the problem. And more importantly for picking them, are they really, really advocate on behalf of the picking them for the government of Sierra Leone ratify the optional protocol 3 where they on communication. Actually this they ask government for establish mechanism to say picking and they can't lay complaint when they agree. Because if picking agree, they don't need for good at police, they're not too child friendly. Or institutions them for they wait for actually receive picking and complain, listen and also address that. So again, since the president and the moderator don't remind me say we're not for talk Boko, I want to say thank you to everyone and thank you President for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kemokai. I'm glad the way Ibrahim told me say I think the CSO they for meet and then discuss and then get a position that will present to government. So I think on that note, we hope to see most of the views where they express now from the different segments within the CSOs will represent the collective views, and we look forward for the position where they never come up with, where they will meet at their level. We will expect say for now we'll make short comments then. So from people that we don't work with CSOs them back from government side. So we want to limit out to probably 2 minutes, short one then. And we start to invite our Samaritan Executive Secretary for the Independence Commission for Peace and National Cohesion. Our Samaritan.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Vice President, all other protocol observed. We want to tell we colleague, so we colleague the similar to civil society, the Minister Civil Society. one hotel we colleague they all plenty thank you for we all come get IASO and for come pack the way forward. You don't say ask for talk after you colleague they don't talk because most of them cannot talk. So much of waiting, then I mind for talk. But nevertheless, I want to tell we civil society say we've always been there. Now we always did it. Whether you be media, whether you be women activists, just imagine from the water, civil society, we always did in a record say we participate. Bintumani 1, Bintumani 2, Bintumani 3. We always did. Not send draft documents in advance for 2 weeks for me to look at them before una send back. He said, I make una get problems, so right now it's we for validate the document. We tell them, say, because we want to be open, fair, and make una own the peace process in a salon. What are they trying to say? I try to say, civil society, we are the bedrock of peace in a salon. Whether you like it or not. Why? Because now we they go to the community. Now we they work there. We get different programs there, more they interact with the community. A lot of people there, even from all the past engagements they were done witness, one of the things they were all man they talk about now that we for go down at the roots to the community. And this is what already they plan. And we not go able to forget we all. Yes, the commission they do a mapping of stakeholders them right around the country. But not go able for work for all man, because not work with all man, because not all man they work on this. But nevertheless, no matter what you they do now your space, make sure say you promote peace. You they reach so many people. Even if government can put money, all the donors they can put money, we not able to reach everybody in the country. But you they reach that set of people now your own space. How we all go get the same message? How we all go push this message now with different sectors then. This is now one of the things they want to get for talk with we now the commission, and now we go work in terms of messaging. Next month now International Peace Month. And the theme for the world now end racism and then we promote peace. For Salon, we don't call one message, we say end tribalism and then we promote cohesion. It just fits perfectly. This problem not in kind itself. We don't plan all this. Now, it fits perfectly. How we go also promote this? As we said, the all don't come board. They say all their signboard will carry this message for the next 2 months. But what thing you go do in your community? How you go help in your newspaper? How you go help in the office where you work for promote this piece in your way? Trust me, civil society, Boku, I remember yesterday to today the amount of one that we call me say they want to be part of this meeting. This one who states not going to do for only one that we phone me say they want to be part of this meeting. Imagine the one that they watch you, the civil society that they watch you on TV, in their own space all over the country. If everybody, elected education you do, you promote peace education. Whether not the ghetto or whether they work with you, promote peace education. Even in governance, promote peace education. The kind of impact where we go make. Then you, as civil society person, be an ambassador. You not for be seen being a hate preacher in what you do. Let we become the role model. If we become the role model, plenty of people work with youth and young people then they will emanate me. They will want for target how you feel, and then we will get the change where we want for sincerely. But if we not be example, just like when we brother or sister, they don't say even our institutions that we're so divided, then what will they preach? Like divided nation. So now we own us as Leoneans, as civil society, and even you when they watch me now all say, I don't choose for be the change where Salon need. Waiting up in the 10th, really it not be for happen. If you have been listening to that interview we have been do the 98. So by the time I come on, they tell me say me a presidential spokesman. Waiting do because I tell them say, if me not be the IG of police, that rally they not be for council. That rally they not be for hold. Waiting do because the one where we get faced, when we dialogue with that 10 day, it tell we say, if the bike rider then join the rally, they're not going to be able to control them. So if you're not able to control the people the way they rally with you, then what do you expect the police to do? They're not going to control the rally. So based on that kind of conversation there, it means we're not able for control the rally. So the police, they'll be absolutely right to cancel that. So Julia, let me be example. That's a campaign on today. Let me be example, and then we will get a united Sierra. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also call the executive chairman for NACID, where they also the interface with the CSO system for the government side.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, the Chief Minister, other government functionaries, and my colleague them, civil society and the media. You know, Your Excellency, the day when that riot starts, I believe in AYV, and they talk about how we can roll out the civic education book STEM into the curriculum and school system. Fortunately, we don't publish 7 books them from class 1 to GSS 3. The president will urge you from the beginning say, he believe say, for teach civics in a school in this country. And not be no say, if you get some 6 cents, we know say that kind of thing you get for happen. So he insists say for getting school books them. So the schools them, where school people they start for teach the books them and civics and schools them. That same day, I've invited some of our colleagues them. We've been in a Miasa conference, not a Miasa conference, the Minister of Information in Conference Center. We call NEC, ECSL, Shadi Bindidi, other institutions. We will develop, we do message development seminar. That seminar day will say we will support ECSL for get out ideas then. What you for tell people then towards this registration with the camp. And one of the people then, very smart guy, he say, let us do it the salon way. And what's in the salon way, where people register and vote and choose whether they want to continue what this good man done to do all these 4 years, or they want to change that. And the man don't talk about. He don't give it before 1 year. He don't give the date when the election will take place. So now I do call on my colleagues, them all of you. We in a small institution, we just begin. We always call on when I want to work with you now. Do you want to help we? The cow, the Mongo don't talk. The cow, everybody don't talk. When I know me, I don't work with you now before. And we don't hear from the president when I know saying hard day, and I can't hear. Do ya when I all genuine, Moko reach out to them communities then they where a heart for each, where they not get radio, where TV no day. Now foot to foot, now go for go miss them and talk to them, make them understand. All of them here so where the president talk about. And no one no go deny say all of what the president don't tell me say, nothing we don't welcome. We don't say what you know here, and he don't tell me say no for talk. In just they do here, Moko continue for educate people because on civil say somebody go there that far away say the president don't run away, all the ministers they don't run away, do I want to come on take government. No, the idea of protesting for livelihood issues is not for take government, not for change government. Now for ask the government make you do what if for do for help you for make the country go for. And the president don't tell me what government they do all of the time, but we don't want to for tell the people there. People that don't respect you pass me, people that don't want to sabi pass we, they all go help we for more voice to reach out to the communities there. So we look forward for that engagement. We always ready for work and we respect you a lot for the things they want to do, and individual corners there and individual spaces there. We say on a plenty thank you, want to honor this invitation.
Thank you very much. So now we go come invite the Chief Minister for just can summarize all the suggestions they will make before President will close the.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much, the civil society community. I think we got several suggestions, far more than the suggestions we'll get. The first one, see, for depoliticize our daily actions. I think that goes without saying. This place is so green and red, so we need for the green and the red the place somehow. Then justice, bring perpetrators to book. That's in place. Continuous community engagement and group engagement. Of course, the police should be fully accountable and therefore uphold the rule of law. That's also a suggestion made. Then there's a call for appeal to citizens to be law-abiding. They engage on all requests for protest. I mean, the bar association say police for listening to people and consult with them in terms of their requests for protest, both in terms of the numbers, the routine, and maybe the conditions. Then joint declaration against hate speech to be made together with political parties and suggestion, victims fund or compensation to police officers, whatever. There's a suggestion there. There's also a suggestion of control of social media and enforcement of cybercrime. Then community and public engagement. Then collaboration with interreligious council to engage with political parties. There's a suggestion coming. Engage with children and pardon them. Somebody will call for pardon the children. Two family trees and reunite them, warn them, and the like. Then invest in national institutions for civic education and communications. That's in place. Then we establish more complaints mechanisms. These are the big things we officially mentioned. Some of them are very much in line with what others have mentioned, but we'll take note of them all. Then we'll do a program. But let me just say, you are definitely our pillar for sustained peace and promotion of national cohesion. We'll get back to you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we invite His Excellency the President for a closing remarks, since I invite you for calm and make you also tell you its 9 thoughts and then close the program, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, the Press Secretary. We don't get extensive discussions, and I find it quite interesting, some of the suggestions, not strange, not new, but from where we started the commodity, why we consider them. I think one that really we had to think about, we have to really need to think about now about the politics of this country. Every country gets politics, but politics is different. And that politics, they affect waiting for, actually, in my opinion, politics fine, everybody involved, but the most important thing we need to do as a nation is development. You know, development in every sense of the word, political, economic, social, for we make progress, make a life a day, make the life better for we. But because we don't allow too much politics, it don't take over other things then. The other things we are not being talked about. Now, really, we talk about all the problems from COVID to how it don't affect to the global economic crisis, to Ukraine, supply chain disruptions, the rise of inflationary pressures we suffer from. Down there, all around the world, we don't ever use that in there as an excuse. Wait till we go straight to the answers. How do we protect our own people, pushing the effect of all of this? Where they beyond, we own control, so that salon, that now we own, when anything that happen around the country, you a parent now a house, now your place for protecting young people, begin them. That is what we have been doing. We don't waive taxes on all essential commodities. We know they take 1 penny. But waiting some people, they talk, and I hope so will try for correct them. They say price control. We live in a liberal economy. We run a liberal economy. We don't control price. Down there, I mean, the business of the we they regulate and we they pay attention for make sure say nobody, especially the one that we enjoy small monopoly or something close to that, for make sure say they not harm the people there by using that power for make sure say they give them put prices there out way they beyond the reach of the ordinary person. So we don't do quite a lot, you know. Even cooking gas, we don't pull the wages from 5% to nothing, rice and other things then. Even building materials, we will not see, even when this they go on, people still the bill. And now one of the things that we need, the society, people that go for the house properly. So government don't do quite a lot for make sure say waiting they happen around the world. We have no control over the effect on we young people there. It not be too harsh. But waiting make we not see the effect, we not see the impact of government action. Now because other things that don't come in, even when we don't take off all the tax them, you will still get for film. The ordinary people, they still get for film. Like, first time, if I talk to business people, which them they bring come, they container where they bring come for 4,000, one container, so where it will cost 4,000. Then they tell you, say, 16,000, 17,000 now. The cost of the container alone for bring come. What can we do about that? We don't take all the tax away. We don't even get enough money now. As a result of that, for rest alone, now 1.6 trillion we don't lose as a government. Because we're not a taxer. If we put all the other things, now huge amount, and we still get for take care of salaries, we get for take care of the running of state, we get for the do investment monthly on education. So, we have responsibility, and within the means of government, we don't run. Even the most powerful, rich nations don't do everything for protection, but waiting don't happen. We are living through a crisis, overlapping and evolving. Almost, when have they done this as when will they done the COVID? Quick, we come up with a program for resilience and recovery. We don't even start to implement on the crisis start. The international financial crisis, the economic crisis, where, of course, the war in Ukraine and all of this. The thing where me go end up for talk about is that we get for take agriculture seriously. At the end of the day, not to other nation for the feed we. Not to other people that for the plant rest. From where it begin rain 3-4 days ago, you see the rain. Other countries, the one drop not a day for the past 3-4 years. We are blessed. We get arable land of over 5 million hectares. We get beautiful rainfall, handful rainfall all the time. So we need to go back to agriculture. But even at that, people that exist in our government for do the agriculture for them. Now, even in Japan and other places, so they feed themselves and export. Now, individuals do and the private sector. So we don't begin last year for support the private sector, for go back into that area, and we will provide quite a lot of support so that we will produce we own rest. When we begin eat rest, we will find the condiment and the plazas. So I want to say a big thank you to Ona. Now, there is something where somebody talk about living by example. If we talk about ethnic bigotry, we talk about hate speeches, I think say, as a society we will rise up against individuals when they spew out just hatred. If you didn't have diaspora, you know, it would say nothing for your people then. Just tell them, say, stay peaceful, you know, but it's and they kill Yama. When I forgot attack this person, they come and make causeway day, and no one area, nowhere in the world. Monkeys, they are the vex. They're not going to kill the people that you can't eat bloody one. I'm a human being. I'm a father. I see them, they hack Sierra Leoneans to death for nothing, just in seconds. What was a peaceful country? People in the corner say, what changed? What happened? The president is not an animal. Even the animals say, wait, to this year. I mean, a higher animal. I'm vexed. When you go to Mapna stage, you don't talk everything. Say, my country is open, calm, we are peaceful. Then all of a sudden, you see them. Now, CNN, BBC, everything. How can you not be mad? I cannot go put up any other, face. I have to, even if I hide them again for sure. That is the truth. And not the anger and part of human emotion where even if we try to hide them, it could show. And me, when I get smiley face, anytime where I would say, let's say I bet. So, sorry for that, but let's find a solution. Ladies and gentlemen, very pleased to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
we will say we don't reach to the end of the program. What we will do, because obviously it rain outside, so we try for make we get photo opportunity. But we will do them in batches of 10. So we will do first 10 suicides of the nation. We'll come with the president and the vice president to take picture, and then we'll get other sets them follow up until we finish. On that note, we want to thank you once again, and make our team up now for the national anthem before signaling the end of the program, and then we can do the photo opportunity later. For the first 10 for count forward, just by how we sit down. So we start from the vice president.